Will and I are so excited to be here today to talk to you all about Gusto Pro. So I'm Bridgette Haymaker. I'm the GM and head of product for the accountants division here at Gusto. I joined Gusto about 2 years ago, and that decision was largely driven by just a big passion for helping small businesses. My parents ran a small business for nearly 20 years when I was growing up, and so I got a very up-close look at a lot of the challenges they dealt with throughout that chapter. So for that reason, I've spent a lot of my career trying to help people like them. That included a 10-year run at Intuit, working on various parts of QBO, and now I couldn't be more honored to be here with all of you today, building products for you.
Hi all, I'm Will, also known as the other Will, and apparently now the cooler Will. I'll take that. I lead design for the accountants team, where we're focused on delivering great product experiences to all of you. Previously, I worked on our payroll product, our benefits product, even our HR product, and our original accountants product many years ago. Prior to Gusto, I was a startup co-founder where I experienced firsthand all that goes into starting and running a small business. So excited to be here with everyone today.
So Will and I were actually up on this very stage last year sharing our vision for the year ahead. We showed you some big, ambitious plans for things like Smart Import and all-new CSV upload experience, but we hadn't actually built anything yet. And so I think I'm actually more excited about today's presentation because we get to show you the very real progress that we've made against that vision with demos of actual working code, and we get to talk about what's next for the 1 to 2 years ahead. So with that, we are going to spend our next 20 minutes on both a look back with all of the things that we've shipped or that are about to ship. You'll hear more about that very much tomorrow. We're also going to do a look forward for the next 1 to 2 years.
But before we dive in, we figured it would be helpful to zoom out and spend a few minutes on some of the industry trends that we're seeing. And also, we want to highlight some of the pain points that many of you have been talking with us about over the last year so that you can understand how we arrived at the themes and the innovations that we're about to unveil. First of all, the demand for your services has never been higher. The global market value for accounting services is huge, and it's growing, with expectations that it will reach $736 billion by 2025. That is a huge number. This is driven in large part by ever-increasing demand for advisory services. You may know, I've heard this, that CPA.com continues to report double-digit growth in CAS practices. Another trend is that today, almost half of firms have over 30% of their revenue coming from advisory, and they're planning on that being an even greater percentage in the future.
So clearly the demand is there, but as you all know, there are also some significant headwinds. The first one is resource scarcity. The number of accountants entering the profession, as you all know, at an all-time low, which means that you all need to do the same amount of work with less people. I've actually talked to a number of you that are actively turning away new clients, which just shows how severe this problem has become. Coupled with resource scarcity is an accelerating pace of change across so many categories you all need to keep a pulse on. Regulatory changes, technology changes, managing a remote staff. And so net, it's just becoming increasingly harder to run and scale a sustainable accounting practice. And so let's actually hear from our very good friend Wyatt about how some of these trends have impacted his practice, the Lighthouse Group.
I'm Wyatt Naper. I'm the founder and CEO of the Lighthouse Group. We are a full-service organization, so we do everything from basic tax preparation all the way up to forensics and trust accounting. In 2021, Lighthouse initially launched. I made the biggest risk of my career. I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent, but gosh darn it, I wanted to be an accountant, and here we are. We've ultimately grown close to 500% since 2021, and our growth is really powered by our incredible team. We're currently 10. We need a couple more, but most accountants at this point need a few more staff. It really has hit Lighthouse hard in the last, I'd say, 6 months, to where the skilled labor shortage is getting ridiculous. We have clients beating down our door for services, but we physically can't handle the volume. The increasing amount of regulation and laws, ultimately, not only in the tax, but in the accounting world, it's our job to drive that great big accounting bus. And if our clients are in the back, we got to keep them informed of all those different weird nuances and regulations that they might not be accustomed to. Unfortunately, those are those low billable hours that if I spend 4 hours on the phone, it drives me to madness. We can't do much about it, unfortunately, but we got to fix it. And that's where using a partner like Gusto, it makes our lives 10 times easier. We receive a lot of client data, I'm sure as every accounting firm does. I don't want my payroll administrators or my senior staff accountants going through that data, because not only does it cost the firm a small fortune, it's lower level data entry. And if that can be automated by a tool like Smart Import with Gusto, it opens a huge door for accounting professionals, because at that point, we don't have to try to find the staff. We don't need to train them. If we can export that and throw it into Gusto, and if right off the bat it goes, hey, we have spelling error mismatches and this person's address is conflicting on this document, the amount of time that will save is just mind-blowing.
Side note, Will and I were talking last night about how we need to find ourselves an EBITDA hat. It sounds like it's custom, so maybe we can make some of those. So clearly, Wyatt and team are struggling with many of those trends we talked about. Now, let's shift gears. Let's talk about the very tangible ways the Gusto Pro team is trying to help. Wyatt referenced something called Smart Import. We will talk about that today, but first, let's take a step back and talk about our goals overall. Okay, so the first goal is really driving efficiency with an even more narrow lens around saving you time on low billable work in particular, so you can do more with the staff that you already have. The second is empowering advisory, which is all about helping you provide clients with high quality support and strategic guidance at scale, so you can do also more of that high margin advisory work. So as I mentioned, we're going to do both a look back and a look forward on both topics today. Let's start with the look back on driving efficiency. Okay, so for those that were here last year, we talked a lot about those really time-consuming, high-complexity payrolls, often for clients in industries like restaurants, retail, with a lot of hourly employees, and how, on average, our data showed that it took about 50 minutes to run those high-complexity payrolls. And that 60% of that time is actually spent preparing payroll data in spreadsheets, and yet only 1% of all payrolls that you all run are actually using CSV upload, mostly because of some big limitations with the feature. And so what we did is we ended up launching an all-new CSV experience that removed the need to adhere to that really strict template and instead attempted to automatically match the data that you have in your spreadsheets to our fields in Gusto. So as an example here, we were able to match Pat Churchland, which is a bit of a nickname in a spreadsheet, to the official employee record of Patricia Churchland in Gusto. And so initially, we saw some big improvements. We saw the upload success rate go from 50% to more than 95%. So big improvement there, but then, here's the catch, we started to get even more and more complex spreadsheets, and so we realized that in reality, we only supported about 5% of spreadsheets out there, mostly that adhered to a one-to-one structure. And that one-to-one structure is defined as one row for each employee and one column for each Gusto field, right? Then we realized there are all sorts of different types of spreadsheets out there. We were seeing spreadsheets with a single time card structure, multiple time card structure, spreadsheets with extra rows. And so we said, hey, can we actually use AI to help us handle some of these more complex spreadsheets? And so now I'm going to talk about a few examples. This is going to be the fun part, I think, about the types of spreadsheets that we started to experiment with, starting with this extra rows type. Okay, so this is an extra rows type of spreadsheet. You can see the extra stuff at the top and at the bottom. And so if you squint, you can actually see a one-to-one structure in here, but it's a little tough to see. And so I'm going to layer on some color coding. Will added this. Thank you, Will. So now hopefully it's more clear. It's actually the table of payroll data in green that's actually useful. And so we started to wonder if we could get AI to throw out all of that extra stuff in pink. So I'm very happy to report that after a lot of experimentation, we figured out that if we used the right prompts with OpenAI, we could get the exact slice of data that we needed to actually make Smart Import work. And this idea of table extraction became very useful because we figured out that we could extend and build on this concept of table extraction, we could make a whole bunch of other types of spreadsheets work as well. So, as an example, this is a single time card structure spreadsheet. It's the same exact concept. We're extracting a table of payroll data, and here's the extension. We're having to figure out who that table is for. So you can see the employee name in the top left. Same goes for a multiple time card example. We're simply extracting multiple tables of payroll data all at once. So here's the fun part. I'm excited to share that we went from supporting 5% of spreadsheets to over 80%. Not bad, right? But we know proof's in the pudding, right? And so we wanted to go out and find the most gnarly spreadsheet that we could find and test it out. So let's test out that gnarly spreadsheet. Okay, so what you're gonna see here is an example of a multiple time card structure, really dicey, not sure if it's gonna work, but we're gonna try to upload it. And so what you're seeing here is exactly what I just mentioned. AI is processing in the background to identify what type of spreadsheet it is, extract the right data, and try to automatically map it to our fields in Gusto. And as you can see here, it worked beautifully. So this has been in beta for quite some time, and I'm also happy to announce that this is moving from beta to becoming generally available tomorrow. So that's very exciting. All right, so let's shift from our look back to our look forward. We just talked about the #1 most time-intensive activity, which is running payroll. Let's talk about the #2 most time-intensive activity, which is reporting. Reporting represents about 20% of you all's time on the Gusto platform. I actually want to start with an audience poll, see if you can guess. So, a certain percentage of the reports that you all run in a given week are actually duplicative across clients. So to give you an example, say you went to run report X for client A, you recreate that report, that same report X for client B, and then again for client C in a week. Can anyone guess what percentage of the reports that you run are duplicative?
75.
Not quite. Try again. Keep going. Oh, that would be bad. It's actually 50%, which I found to be quite high, and that's just a lot of wasted hours, right? That could be saved if, say, we had a tool in Gusto Pro that lets you run reports across multiple clients. And so that's exactly what we're building. I'm excited to show you a little preview. And we've been talking to our friends over at Raymond about a few examples of the reports that they're running. Is Laura in the audience? Laura's here. Hi, Laura. Yay. Okay, so let's pretend I'm Laura. I'm sitting down to do month-end close. And so what I need to do is compare the data in Gusto to the data in QBO and make sure they tie out. Before, as I mentioned, I used to have to go into each individual client's account to get the reports with the level of granularity that I needed. Now, instead, I can go into Gusto Pro Reports. I can create a custom report. The report updates with information as I go, so I can get a preview. I can go ahead and, oops, missing a slide. That's okay. Oh, yes. Okay, so I can select the 8 clients that I need to do this for. I can customize the date range, so again, up to the end of the last month. And here's the kicker. I can actually select all of the different data points at the level of granularity I need in order to do this comparison. Again, the report is updating as I customize the report. And then when it looks good, when I'm ready, I can download say a CSV, again, with all of those 8 clients all at once. And we're not done yet. Maybe even more exciting, say I have a staff member that's joining next month. Instead of spending a whole bunch of time teaching her or him how to run that report, I can simply create a template of this report, share it with that person, and you'll see it shows right up in their Gusto Pro account. So that's the update on reporting. We are so very excited to start shipping this over the next few months and just more generally saving you all time on that low billable work. So now I'm going to pass it over to Will. He's going to talk about the next core feature area.
Thank you, Bridgette. All right, our second core theme here is empowering advisory. And this is how we're helping you provide high quality support to your clients and that strategic guidance. You can do that at scale. And this enables you to focus on your advisory practice, focus on those higher margin advisory services that Bridgette was talking about. Let's do a look back at our progress over the past year. We know that many of you are often acting as a first line of support for your clients. Many of your clients are just trusting you to keep things running smoothly with payroll and compliance. They really depend on you for things like this. And if you were here at Next last year, we talked about the journey that you go on when a client issue comes up and you need to help resolve it. We heard from you that it was hard to discover these important client issues in the first place. And even after you've discovered them, it was hard to resolve them. There were many of these issues that came up, you couldn't resolve them on your own, and you had to call CX. We've made huge progress here over the last year. Before, important client issues weren't always showing up in Gusto Pro, and so you had to go searching through your email. I'm seeing some nods there. You had to go into each client's Gusto account just to see what was going on. Here's a look at Gusto Pro today. Last fall, and many of you have likely seen this, we launched a fully redesigned Gusto Pro Tasks where you can see all of your client tasks in one place, prioritized by what's most important. In this example, there's an issue with QuickBooks Online for a couple of my clients. I click that task. It takes me right to where I can resolve that issue in my client's account. Looks like there's a missing account mapping here. I can add that mapping. Issue resolved. Everything is taken care of. With the redesigned Gusto Pro Tasks, you can be assured that nothing is going to fall through the cracks. Big, big shout out to so many of you who gave us helpful feedback as we were developing this. So in this example, it was pretty easy for me to jump in there and fix this QBO account mapping issue. But as I'm sure many of you are aware, resolving client issues isn't always that simple. There are a lot of times when you just can't resolve these issues on your own and you have to call CX. Okay, I'm curious. Can anyone guess what is the #1 reason why accountants call CX? Any guesses out there? I see some thinking going on. Sarah?
But you know.
Close, close, close. The top reason, thank you. The top reason accountants call CX is because of client issues with state tax setup. Big pain point, yeah. And the reason is before, if you wanted to update a state tax account number, maybe there was simply a typo in it, maybe the tax agency decided we're just going to go and reissue all these tax account numbers to everyone, which happens sometimes. You had to call CX in order to update it. And we were actually getting over 5,000 CX cases per year just because of that. So we'd like to share something that the amazing team back there launched just a few weeks ago. Imagine your client forwards you a letter. It looks like this. It's from a tax agency, and it has a tax account number that's been issued for your client. It's a new one. Now you can go into your client's tax setup page. You can find the account number that you want to edit. Once you indicate a reason why you're updating that account number, you can enter in that number, save, done. Gusto will automatically file taxes with that new account number going forward. Pretty awesome, pretty awesome. Big kudos to the team back there. And this is just one of the ways that we're empowering you to fix issues without calling CX. We're excited to continue investing in additional ways going forward as well. All right, so by making it easier for you to provide that high quality support for your clients, you can increase your focus on advisory services where you have so much value to offer your clients. And we see a big opportunity at Gusto to help empower your advisory practice. We're super excited to share an early preview of what's ahead. But first, we want to share about a recent survey we ran with a large number of accountants. This probably went to some of you. And we asked them, what are the most frequent advisory-related questions that you're getting from your clients? Here are a few that rose to the top. What is a reasonable compensation to offer a new hire? Can I afford to offer benefits? How do my company's benefits compare to similar companies? What's so apparent from these questions is your clients rely on you for that strategic guidance related to hiring, related to compensation, benefits. And they really need your help in order to make these financial decisions. It's really hard. The problem is that for you to advise on these financial decisions, there's often a lot of highly manual work that goes into it. There's cost analysis, budgeting, forecasting. There's a lot that goes into it. And when we talked to you about this, you said it was really tedious, often involves a lot of spreadsheet work. And there's downloading of data, compiling it, analyzing it, multiple data sources. A lot of it is happening in Excel. I don't know if you've worked in spreadsheets that look anything like this, but there's just a lot that goes into it. And as a result of how time-consuming that is, you're limited in how many clients your firm can advise. And the idea of offering advisory to even more clients would be unsustainable. We think there's an opportunity to make this so much easier, and we're excited to share an early concept of what's ahead for Gusto Pro. All right, so for this, let's imagine that I'm an accountant and I have several clients. I'm gonna put my accountant hat on, if only it was as cool as Wyatt's over there. And I'm working with this client, Alpine Creative. Alpine has recently hired a new director of marketing, Devin, and the business owner, Natalie, has asked me if I can help add them into Gusto. So I enter a few details, and Devin has been invited to Gusto. I see this insight. It says, employee retention risk is 4.5 times higher for my client compared to similar companies. And the reason is my client doesn't offer health benefits. I see that 85% of similar companies offer health benefits, and Gusto's recommendation is that my client consider offering benefits. So I've talked with Natalie. I know she cares a lot about her team. She wants to build an engaged culture. And she's also talked to me about wanting to offer benefits someday. So I click View Recommendation to learn more. I'm brought into Gusto Pro. I can see this recommendation and learn more. And Gusto has done a cost analysis of the scenario in which my client, Alpine, offers competitive benefits. It's actually highly affordable. I scroll down. I can see the total projected costs over the next year, including the estimated benefits costs. And I can also see high-level details about that recommended benefits package. So I'm excited about this. I want to share this with Natalie. I add in a note here as I share it with her. And I indicate there that at this stage of the company, it might be worth considering benefits, and I'd love to talk about it with Natalie on that next call. So on the next monthly call with Natalie, she's excited to consider offering benefits, but she had some questions about what are the full range of benefits options available to her, and can she still afford benefits given her upcoming hiring plans? So we're on the call. I open up Gusto Pro. I open up the scenario planner here, where we can customize the benefit scenario for Alpine Creative. I share my screen, and we can explore different scenarios together for her business. We can explore adding future team members, different options for health benefits, and other scenarios. And Natalie can see how these different scenarios impact total projected costs over time, as well as whether or not they're affordable. So Natalie tells me, I'm interested in hiring another software engineer in about 6 months. I ask her some questions about that, like whether she wants that person to be on site or maybe remote, and I can add that in here. Once I add that new team member into the scenario, Natalie and I see the projected costs update, and that includes the total estimated cost for a software engineer based on Gusto's comprehensive salary data. It looks like that payroll to revenue ratio has increased to 29%, but Gusto indicates that that's still in the healthy range for a business like Alpine. And Natalie is glad to see that affordability is still high. Next, she's interested in what would it cost to offer that next tier of health benefits, that excellent coverage. She's really curious about that. So I click that excellent button there on the left, and we both see the costs update again. And it looks like affordability has gone from high to moderate. And the payroll to revenue ratio is now on the border of that healthy range. So I talk about it with Natalie, and she decides she wants to go back to that great coverage, but once her revenue is higher, she'll move up to excellent in the future. As a next step, I connect Natalie with a Gusto benefits advisor. She can get a detailed quote for benefits. And she's just thrilled to be able to offer competitive benefits at this stage in her business. She just didn't expect that she'd be able to do it so early in her journey. Thank you. This is our early benefits concept. We're really excited about continuing to iterate on this with your continued feedback and are truly excited about how we can simplify advising for you so you can scale your advisory practice. Next, I'll pass it back to Bridgette for some closing words.
All right, so in conclusion, again, focused on two big themes, driving efficiency, empowering advisory. We're super excited about all of this work. We're also very grateful to all of you. Many of you have been providing feedback to us on these topics throughout the last couple years. But before we exit, we figured we could do a little Steve Jobs moment and talk about just one more thing. So we've heard from many of you how hard it is, how painful it is to switch clients from other payroll providers, especially in the middle of the quarter. And so I'm very excited to say that on top of all of this that we're working on, we are also working on actively automating payroll transfers. And also excited to share that this is becoming available early in the fall in a closed beta, so just a couple months away. So be sure to go back to our activation booth after this to sign up for that closed beta. All right, so again, thanks to all of you. We just so appreciate your partnership. I also wanted to close out by giving a big kudos to the people in the back. This is the Gusto Pro team back there. This is the team that's making all of this possible. So thank you so much, team. Thanks to all of you, and come back to the activation booth. We'll talk more.
Thank you.
Thank you.